Yeah, thank you everyone. So let's begin with the new lines today. So this is all, beautiful sharing of how in the density of the matter, how what appears so unconscious, inconscient, there is a flame which is as if trying to emerge from within. And to the limited mind's look, it really appears very confusing. And if one really wants to get in touch with the depths of it, one needs an inward turn, what was shared earlier. This needs the power of a spiritual gaze, needs the intuitive heart, the inward turn. If otherwise we are just looking at the superficiality of the things, it just does not make any sense. And even when the inward gaze is turned within, we see that only in bits and pieces we get to know, also with a lot of doubt, all this mystery, as if we are treading into an unknown territory, and with very kind of skeptical efforts, very skeptic, doubts again and again. Revelation comes, and then we think that maybe it's the absolute revelation, and then something more is shown, something more is shown. So as if this is a mystery which is just unraveling itself slowly, and it's only in bits and pieces that we get to know of this mystery, and we can never really know the full, the largest capacity, because there is no end to this beauty. So we were reading these lines, and then it goes on. uh, Sri Aurobindo explains it further. Again, very beautiful lines. Let's begin with this. Yeah. So Earth appears, I'll just, for an overlap, I'll read the last few lines. In this dense field where nothing is plain or sure, our very being seems to us questionable. Do we really exist? Is there a purpose to existence? Some people say yes, there is a purpose. Others say maybe, it's all a chance happening. Our life a vague experiment, the soul a flickering light. So it seems on the surface that it's a vague experiment that is running. And we do have glimpses or flashes of beauty, light, delight through the touch of the soul. The soul, a flickering light in a strange, ignorant world. Imagine it almost brings like, imagine that you're going on an adventure, we are going on an adventure, and it's an uncharted territory. We have no clue, very alien kind of stuff and matter. And there is in this vague experiment that we are on, soul appears, or the inner voice, it appears like a flickering light, because it's not something we always have access to. It's only after a kind of, after going through many many experiences, that it comes forward, and it takes the charge of the being, this light. So more often than not, it's like a flickering light in this strange ignorant world. And the earth appears to be a brute mechanic accident. How scientists talk about it, that maybe, things collided and big bang, and how everything started, even that we have no clue about. So it appears that earth originated out of a brute mechanic accident. And this material domain, the mortal domain, it appears to be like a death, net of death, in which by chance we live. you know. And then we go ahead. So please, anyone who feels ready, read the lines in green.
All we have learned appears a doubtful guess. The achievement done a passage or a phase, whose farther end is hidden from our sight, a chance happening or a fortuitous fate.
Yeah, thank you. So, how it happens in science. First, they discover something. They say that this is it, this is it, this is it. And then we go further into it, and we realize that no, that was not it. There is more to it. There is more to it. There is more to it. And whatever we are learning through our experiences, it's always with a bit of unsurety, that we can say that, okay, this appears to be like this at the moment. All we have learned appears a doubtful guess. So, although on the base of our experiences or whatever experimentations, we may realize that okay, this maybe this appears to be true, but it's again a very doubtful guess because it depends on the also the instruments that I am using. Yeah, for example, if I have a telescope and there is a limit to the telescope, so with that particular telescope, whatever technical advance it may be, I may say, okay, this is all we have in the solar system. But maybe in few years, I have an advanced kind of a tool. There it will reveal much, much more. So it will tell me that what the previous telescope shared with me was only because of the limitations of that telescope that it could not reveal further. So everything is very, it's progressing very, very fast because it's an endless mystery that it seems that we are in an endless mystery. And the more we develop or the more we evolve slowly, the more and more we know that there is actually seems like there is no end to this expanding, ever expanding mystery. So all we have learned appears a doubtful guess, the achievement done a passage or a phase. So any achievement that we go through, it just appears maybe like a part of it, like a little part of that journey, like a passage. There is more to it. There is more to it, whose farther end is hidden from our sight. Now we don't know what all is there. We have no clue. Just based on the limits of my understanding, okay, I can say this is it. Maybe put down on a paper or a book, but the further end, the end which is not really I'm able to access, that is hidden from our sight owing to the limitations of matter, whose farther end is hidden from our sight, a chance happening or a fortuitous fate. So it appears like as if this is just a chance happening. On the surface it may appear like a chance happening. Now we have no clue whether it's a chance happening or there is a purpose to all this. At times we are convinced that there is a purpose and this is the way to go. At other times it appears like, really, are we sure about it? Yeah. So again, I think very many contemplations can happen on these lines. So I would invite actually more reflections if you have. Yeah, please unmute and share if you have more reflections on this. Okay, so in absence of comments, I'll just continuing. Please share if you have anything. Great. So please, whoever feels ready, the lines in yellow.
Out of the unknown, we move to the unknown. Ever surround our brief existence here, gray shows of unanswered questionings, the dark, inconscience, signless mysteries stand up unsolved behind fate's starting line.
Yeah.
Okay, madam?
Thank you. Thank you, Mohanji. Yeah. So again, this exploration continues. He shares, out of the unknown, we move to the unknown. Beautiful lines again. Yeah. So we don't know how it all started. We don't know our origins. We have maybe guesses, doubtful guesses about it, which keeps on changing. The more we understand, we keep on changing. Out of the unknown, we move to the unknown. Ever surround our brief existence here, gray shadows of unanswered questionings. And this little short, feeble, ephemeral existence that we have, even we may have 80, 90 years in so-called human life, but still if we look from the point of view of eternity, it's a very feeble, fleeting existence. Many people have called it pani ka bulbula, like just like a bubble appears on the surface of water. It's almost as fragile, as fleeting as that our mortal existence. very brief, Shan Bhangur in Hindi, ever surround our brief existence here. What surrounds our brief existence? Gray shadows of unanswered questioning. So many people, psychologists, philosophers, mystics, every from this or that way have been trying to fathom the mystery of existence. And it's not that we don't have beauty through their words. We do have beauty, we do have understanding through our own revelations, through their words and revelations. But still there lurks these shadows. There are shadows, of these unanswered questions that we have about existence, about life, about who we are. The dark inconscience, signless mysteries. Now, the dense matter that is there, the dense existence that we have, it hides much than it reveals. We may get glimpses of insight, and yet there is so much in the universe which is hidden. We don't know. For example, if we talk about physics, scientists are still grappling with what are these black holes. What is the property? Is there space within, or does it suck in the space also? So that is again on a cosmic level. But even if we look at a microcosm level in our own being, we see that there is so much that we don't know about ourselves. And yet we declare with so much of almost an arrogance that, I know who I am. You don't tell me I know who I am. But really, are we sure about it? It's like really very doubtful anything to say about ourselves. The dark inconscience, signless mysteries, mysteries which don't have really any clues uh, or signs which are revelatory. They stand up unsolved behind fate's starting line. So, as if when all the mechanic accident and when the earth started, when the universe or the mortal existence came into existence, then all this determinism of cause and effect, that whatever you do, you have to, obviously, because of the determinism, you have to have the result of also that thing. So this appears to be the starting line of fate, the beginning of the universe, the starting of the mortal world. So behind fate's starting line, all these unanswered gray dark areas, they still are lying unanswered. And that again reveals the first line that we started with: out of the unknown we move to the unknown. Yeah, and in between we have glimpses which maybe we are sure, little certain, maybe not really sure. So in between we have little pieces of known. But even if we go into the depth of the known, that we call that, okay, I know this, even there we see that really we don't know much about it. There is so much. Even if we take up the concept of love or hate or compassion or kindness, even these little words, 4 5 little words, we see that we don't really have idea about it. We just only have very superficial knowings about them. What they truly are is seems like endless. Yeah, and such is the mystery: immortal trapped in mortality, eternal trapped in time, unknowable trapped in the known. Yeah, so please, if anything is there, share.
Yeah, this week in the Harmony Circle, we had the topic limitations of my mind. So, I mean, it's like this is what we were basically, kind of reflecting on about how we think things will turn out a certain way. And, we plan using our minds and whatever other sources we have, mainly our mind, very cleverly that, this will lead to this and this would lead to that. And yet, when we look back, it doesn't happen that way. It's like the thing that I thought would give me pleasure actually had been, ends up giving me pain. And what I thought was, a challenge or a tragic time in my life has ended up, kind of making me grow so much. So to just realize that how one knows nothing is also a very humbling experience. And Josna ji is here today, and yesterday also she had shared that how every stage, like there were different minds that she spoke about, and like every planes, they have their limits. That after that you have to transcend it to the unknown. So again, I feel that out of the unknown we move to the unknown, like being where how we are, like where we are in this body. It would always be unknown. So it also, I mean, it's baffling, and yet it has a joy in itself, right? That okay, nothing is known, because I don't know, somehow we like to always know things. It gives us a sense of safety. And yet, it's like nothing is known, there's no safety, and yet I'm still here, kind of like, fully, I don't know, wanting to still move ahead and do so much more. It feels beautiful too. And this, gray shadows of unanswered questioning, whenever we are in such a group, that we end up, reflecting or talking lot of times, this thing that, oh my god, nothing is known, gray shadows of unknown questioning. Here also I feel that one can go down in it, that oh, it can be a sad thing or a frustrating thing, because one touches that space as well, that how come nothing is known. At least if something was known, I could have, planned better, or at least know where I'm heading. And yet one can again see it as a divine mystery, or like they say divine comedy, and say that yes, nothing is known, and that's the challenge or the mystical element in that. Yeah. So if I'll wait before,
Yeah,
otherwise I'll start reading the next.
yeah. Thank you for sharing, Taru.
I
Yeah,
felt
anyone?
that
Yeah,
delving into the unknown, where we want to define things, we want to limit ourselves so that we feel that we understand. But the beauty is actually being in the unknown, which is limitless. We have to keep moving along with the tide, where the beauty is to flow along with it, but we want definitions, we want limitations, we want constraints, so that we feel that yes, we know it all, and we've reached this stage. Now this is the next, we got this in our hands, and we want to go to the next. But actually the beauty is from unknown to unknown. It is a fantastic line.
yeah, it
I
is.
I also feel that
Yes, Rakhi.
in unknown is where our growth lies, because if we already
Mhm.
know, then I don't know. I feel that we we are limiting our growth. But when we step into the unknown, knowing that we don't know where, is this going to lead, and then we grow, we mature, and um, as it is said that we are into the limitless space, then there are so many options, so many things that can be done. So I think our growth lies in the unknown, which sometimes we don't realize it. And hence we always want the known.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think the funny thing, funny thing is also that we may think that I am in the known and feel very safe about it, and yet we will be fooling ourselves because it's not possible that we are in the known, because I may be thinking that I'm in the known and hence I know everything, what can happen, what cannot happen, and yet all there is the unknown. So it's just again, as there was sharing, this comedy, divine comedy, I think, beauty about it. Yeah. So Taru, you wanted to read, please go ahead.
Yeah, and another thing which is very counterintuitive is that, like, Josna ji touched upon the limits, right? Like, it's so strange that giving myself limits feels like my security. And then you realize that that was that was you punishing yourself. Like, that was you kind of, like, if I'm not allowing myself to be expanded because the cage feels safe, it's really strange. Like, it's like amazing that how can we do this, and knowingly also
Hmm.
we can still do it. Like, the cage changes, the situations change and all,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
yet we are always looking for some security, some even temporary known thing, so that at
Yeah,
least I know where I'm heading. That thing that I
yeah,
need to know, it
yeah.
doesn't go away that easily and keeps coming back.
Absolutely. And I
Mm.
think uh, trying to protect those limitations and those images, there is so much wastage, I would say, of energy there, that I'm always trying to protect my own images about myself, trying to protect my definitions, my own comfort zones. I think it's also a lot of, I would say, drainage of energy. Like you give away your power in protecting these images rather than, living a life fully. And I think that's what Kabir or Bulle Shah would mean when they would say befikre. They would say that one of the couplets, chaha miti chinta gayi manwa beparwa. So only then one can be beparwa, if one is not trying to protect anything at all. And there lies joy also, and also uncertainty. But then, as Rakhi was sharing, there is so much joy and progress in uncertainty. Yeah,
I think
great.
what
So
we try to maintain is more of an illusion.
yeah, yeah.
We love living in that illusion of certainty, of definition, of limitations. We want it, so we keep living that illusion when actually it doesn't exist. It's just an illusion.
Hmm. Yeah, मेरे को लगता है पता नहीं, I think that not really that we love it, because we do feel suffocated and drained of energy when we are trying to protect our boundaries. So I don't know, maybe we in the not knowing of anything better, uh, what else to do, just protect these boundaries, and yeah, if I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud with you.
A false sense uh, mm, mm, of happiness, kind of a secure happiness, which is very momentary, and you're back to your restlessness again.
Back to
But
your restlessness, yeah.
for those few moments, you do feel, now I got it. And suddenly you realize it was just a pack of cards. It
Hmm.
came, and by the time you turn around, it's gone. And you're back again to struggling, you're back again to it, and then you say, oh, I have to still climb higher.
Yeah, yeah. So
Like
this,
yesterday, Taru mentioned,
yeah.
she mentioned Khalil Gibran, something which was so beautiful. She said, you haven't started to climb until you reach the top of the
Yeah,
mountain.
yeah, yeah. That was
So
really beautiful. Yeah. Let me read it
inspiring.
out here. Taru, you want to read it? I think it's on your profile now.
Yeah, I'll just read it.
It's beautiful.
And after that, then you can go ahead with the lines also.
Okay. So it says that only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. Only when you have reached the mountain top, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance. Khalil Gibran.
And all I'm trying to do is to protect my limbs all the time. Yeah, beautiful lines. Thank you for sharing.
And it's like there is, like you were just discussing, that we can't be in love with it. And yet, like Josna ji was again, saying that there's some cleverness in me that just pops up. That every time after seeing so much, yet it wants to tell you that, oh, come behind me. I know, I will plan things for you or take you there, and I know how to do this. It's pretty amazing how you also keep getting deceived, and that thing also, that energy also doesn't get like pushed back so easily.
Extinguished, yeah.
Yeah,
आई थिंक
yeah,
यही होगा ना, जैसे कहते हैं कि माया कभी मरती नहीं है.
yeah,
That it always is, it always is. The moment you feel that, okay, maybe now I have gotten rid of it, there it is again in some other form.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so I'll
please.
read now.
Yeah.
An aspiration in the night's profound, seed of a perishing body and half lit mind. uplifts its lonely tongue of conscious fire towards an undying light forever lost. Only it hears sole echo of its call, the dim reply in man's unknowing heart, and meets not understanding why it came or for what reason is the suffering here. God's sanction to the paradox of life and the riddle of the immortal's birth in time.
Yeah, thank you. So, what's there that propels the stuff forward? An aspiration in the night's profound. This darkness of the matter, the darkness of the inconscience. There is this aspiration, a yearning towards light, yearning towards perfection. This aspiration is a seed. It is the seed of a perishing body. It is from this aspiration that even the matter has come. And it is the seed of this half lit mind that we have, which grapples to understand the mystery of existence. This uplifts its lonely tongue of conscious fire. So it's owing to this presence of inner aspiration, which is there in each being. This yearning towards perfection, where I may be a very clever robber, or a thief or a dacoit, and there itself I may be trying to do things more perfectly. So there is this aspiration which is forever there. This that is what gives us a push to live more and more, trying to have better and better comfort, more and more efficiency in cars. This perfection kind of pushes and propels us forward. So this aspiration is there in this night's profound, this dark existence, this seed of a perishing body and half-lit mind. It uplifts its lonely tongue of conscious fire. And it's a conscious aspiration, that yes, I want to do stuff better and better in whatever field I may be there, towards an undying light forever lost. Now we have this yearning for peace within our being, a yearning for harmony within our being. We don't like really to be in restlessness or in discord with people. you know so where is this coming from? Was this taught in our education that be harmonious? And no, we just have a taste of it. We just have a taste of our own sanity. We have a taste for our own peace. We have a taste for beauty. Hmm? And mother talks about it, that from childhood itself, we must have a taste for beauty, because that keeps us going ahead on this path. So as if this little conscious fire, the fire of aspiration, is going upward and upward and upward. It's uplifted as if something is calling it, some undying light which it has lost. It really has a very faint remembrance of it, and it does not even know that it may have a remembrance. It's such a faint remembrance. It is as if uplifted owing to this fact that there must be a greater light, which is the mother of me, for example, from where I have come. It's not that I am extremely lost in the universe. There must be something which propels me upward and uplifts me more and more as I go forward. But what it gets in this call, the aspiration is a call, it's a yearning. What it gets is it only hears soul echo of its call. So what it hears back in response to this yearning is the echo of its own call. All that is there is the yearning, the dim reply in man's unknowing heart. And this echo appears to be the dim reply the aspiration gets in response to that yearning. A heart which wants to know, wants to understand, but really does not understand fully, does not know fully. Yeah, what it get, it's the is the echo of its own yearning, echo its of its own call. And one of the Italian monks, many masters have also, mystics have said about it, that yearning is the proof that God exists. Otherwise, why would you have this yearning? Just like water is, thirst is the proof that water exists. Otherwise, how would I be thirsty? If I am thirsty, it means definitely something is there to quench my thirst. So this yearning is the proof that there is something higher, something more, which I don't know yet, but is there. Only it hears sole echo of its call, the dim reply in man's unknowing heart, and meets, not understanding why it came or for what reason is the suffering here. God's sanction to the paradox of life. And when this aspiration goes upward, it rises, it yearns. What it meets, it does not really truly understand why it is there or what is the reason of all this suffering. And yet it says that God or the divine or whatever we may call the higher intelligence, the creation, that has sanctioned, that has as if said yes to the play or the drama of life. So it's not by chance or just by a random event that this is happening. It gets to know, the aspiration gets to know that God or the divine has said yes to this Leela, the sanction to the paradox of life, and the riddle of the immortal's birth in time. How we really wonder at eternity trapped in time, a soul which is limitless, timeless, unborn, undying, trapped as if in this limited form. Yeah, and even when what we call as the limited form, we know that it is just a face value that deceives. Scientists have not been yet, even Albert Einstein would say that there is nothing, there is no such thing as matter, he would say, because he had been through the depths of it, and he realized that what appears so solid from outside, that there is always a wave character, at times a particle character. So what is it truly? What is matter? So even matter is a mystery that we are not really able to solve so far. No matter how many advances, how many gadgets may have been built using that matter, but the mystery of the matter is still unresolved. Yeah. So this aspiration touches that the divine has sanctioned this paradox of life and this riddle of immortals, birth in time. Yeah, any reflections?
I didn't quite understand the basic structure. So basically, it said that when we are kind of aspiring even further, say not very high things in the night's profound, still that takes us to the height. That's what it basically said.
Yeah, so Taru, of how I can connect it with this, for example, mother, to those people who would not understand the word divine, mother would say, okay, you take the word perfection. So if you seek perfection, in other words, you are seeking the divine.
Okay.
Because again, perfection is, you can never reach perfection. You can always be better and better and better and better. So this sense of perfection is there in all of us. Even for example, if there is a person who cleans up the bartan, he would want to clean up better and better. That may my work get better and better. So this seeking towards perfection, seeking to grow better, seeking to evolve in whatever little field in our ignorance we may be working at, this is what propels us forward, and this is the seed of aspiration.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So now he talks about the yoga of earth, the yoga that earth is involved in. It actually appears that And when I was reading these lines, it appears to me that when he calls this the earth, how earth is laboring to give birth to a new consciousness, it appears that when he calls earth, I could connect it with our own mechanical tendencies, mechanical patterns, what we call our prakriti. So it resonates, whatever he says in the next few lines, it resonates very strongly with when we talk about transformation of our nature, of our prakriti, of our tendencies, patterns of thought, patterns of emotions, our own physical body. So all that, it seems that he's referring to that, and also earth as a whole, as if it's laboring to give birth to this new consciousness through eons and eons. Yeah, so anyone who feels ready, please read the lines in yellow.
Along a path of eons serpentine, in the coiled blackness of her nascent course, the earth goddess toils across the sands of time.
Yeah, thank you. So earth, along a path of aeons serpentine. Serpentines is like, a wavy path, a very slow gradual progression, not really a very straightforward progression. Along a path of aeons serpentine, in the coiled blackness of her nascent course, very dark, very unconscious, how it all started from stone, thick, dark, really not consciousness palpable in it, slowly developed into, single cell organisms, plant life, maybe insect life, animals in the sea, insects in the sea. So, along a path of aeons serpentine, in the coiled blackness of her nascent course, the earth goddess, so he refers to earth as the goddess who is toiling, really struggling hard to walk her way towards this new birth across the sands of time. When we walk in sand, if you have walked on, this very soft sand next to these beaches, we see that it's, you cannot really, you need a lot of energy to run on that sand, or even to walk your way through it. It's not as smooth as you walk on a hard ground. Yeah, so it's, one has to really toil hard, struggle hard. So as if this earth goddess, it's toiling hard, really hard across the sands of time, and using a lot of eons to give rise to something which gets revealed uh, later in the lines. And it's not a very straightforward path that it takes. It's a very wavy path. Two steps you take, and then third one you maybe take one step back, and then you take 10 more, and then you take 5 steps back. So it's a wavy path. It's not really a although it's going forward and forward and forward, yet it's a wavy serpentine path, and it's a very long gradual process, eons. Hmm? And what she's trying to do would get revealed further here. Yeah, anyone who feels ready.
Nascent is ignorant, right? Yeah.
Ignorant, yes.
So, in the
Yeah,
coiled blackness of her ignorant course means it's just unknown and you keep
unknown.
that
Absolutely.
circumvent this route.
Absolutely.
A being is in her whom she hopes to know. A word speaks to her heart she cannot hear. A fate compels whose form she cannot see.
Yeah, thank you. So this, there is a song by Kabir ji. You may have heard, very popular one, Avadhu, Yugan Yugan Ham Yogi. So yug, that's what an aeon is, a yug. So yugon se this journey has been continuing. Avadhu yugan yugan hum yogi. So that also connected somehow here. This laboring consciousness, the birth of new consciousness. It has been as if the earth is in labor for eons. Yeah. And it also appears from these words, Sri Aurobindo says that earth is a conscious being. We may think that it is a lifeless, not really lifeless, but it's like a hard, rocky planet. But there is a conscious, as if it appears that there is a conscious soul to it, and it is wanting to move forward to her divinity. A being is in her whom she hopes to know. Just like we, because we are earth, we are earth matter, our bodies, our existence. Just like we want to become conscious of our own divine presence, which cannot be seen, cannot be touched, and yet we know that there is something there. A being is in her whom she hopes to know. Yeah, so this can be, again, when I was going through these lines, they connect us to our own lives also very strongly. A being is in her whom she hopes to know. A word speaks to her heart she cannot hear. Whenever we talk about this, listening to inner guidance, listening to inner voice, it's a hard job. It does not come so easily that, hey, there my inner voice is, and here I am following it 10 out of 10 times. A word speaks to her heart she cannot hear. So it needs that earth grows in this subtle capacity of hearing, that it hears that shy, faint voice. A fate compels whose form she cannot see. Now she is progressing forward and forward, marching forward and forward, compelled, as if compelled to go forward, owing to this aspiration. And yet she's not really sure of, as I think Josna ji touched upon, nescient, the ignorance. She's not really in the knowledge of what is to be, what is her fate. So although her steps are compelled by this fate, this aspiration to grow forward, march forward, and yet she's not in knowledge and knowing of what her true fate is. Yeah. A fate compels whose form she cannot see. So although there is a march forward towards new consciousness, but what is this new consciousness? How would it give rise to itself? What form would it be? No ideas, or maybe a few ideas, but really again doubtful, full of unsurety. Yeah. Yeah. So if there is anything coming to you, please share on these lines.
I think all of us, somewhere along the way, we do perceive a being within each of ourselves whom we just hope we get to know by the end of our time. So each time something crops up, you want to know more, but you know it's within you, but you don't hear it. You you try to push yourself to see the unknown, and which may not manifest. So it's an ongoing program which will probably help us to progress if we aspire enough.
Yeah. Thank you, Jyotsna ji. Yeah, anyone who wants to read. So I think these are the last lines we take for today. So anyone who wants to go forward.
May I read, madam? In her unconscious orbit through the void, out of mindless depths, she strives to rise. A perilous life her again, a perilous life her gain, a struggling joy, a thought that can conceive but hardly knows, arises slowly in her and creates the idea, the speech that labels more than it lights, a trembling gladness that is less than bliss invades from all this beauty that must die.
Yeah, thank you, Mohanji. In her unconscious orbit, so although, if we also look at ourselves, we see that we are ruled by patterns and tendencies, unaware of them. Yeah, so there are orbits in which, as if we are walking, and I think in Symbol Dawn, he also used the word grooves. This, as if there are grooves in which this movement is going on and on and on, and we are stuck in those grooves. And if you look at our own selves, if we look at our own patterns, no matter how many years we have been on this path of yoga or spirituality, still we see that we live by the patterns. Yeah, as if we are stuck in those unconscious orbits. We are stuck in those grooves, just like a CD. These record players in earlier times, they would just go on and on in grooves, and the music will come out through those playings. So as if Earth goddess, in her unconscious orbit, through the void, this bottomless nescient void, the dark inconscience, out of her mindless depths, she strives to rise. I can absolutely relate with our own life. This, whatever the journey of Earth Goddess is, I feel that as if we are the earth itself. Out of her mindless depths, she strives to rise. A perilous life, her gain, a struggling joy. So there is a joy in our struggles. I think a few of you were talking about it. That whenever we go through our struggles, there is a joy that is there through the struggle, through the pain, through all the bitterness or whatever one may has to go through. And what is her gain? Her gain is a perilous life. Her gain, a very fragile life, a very delicate life. For example, even if we look at the evolution of matter on Earth, we see how from stone it gives rise to very delicate, fragile, single cellular organisms. Very delicate again. Plant life is again a delicate life. You can trample over a plant very easily. Yeah, so it's a very delicate, beautiful life that it gains through this evolutionary process. A perilous life, her gain, a struggling joy. Yeah, that is what we get as a byproduct or a gift through the struggles. A thought that can conceive but hardly knows. Through the process of evolution, now we have human beings, which we call the thinking animal. We can think for ourselves. So through the progression, stone, insect, dinosaurs, all that, apes, Neanderthal, human beings, now we have thought. We have this instrument of thought, the power of thought, with which we can conceive. We can conceive of concepts and ideas, and which has given to this existence, given rise to this, the world of gadgets, the world of internet, all we have conceived through it, but hardly knows. How much can thought know? So little. So little. Even nothing more than even a thousandth portion of a speck of dust. And then even from that knowing, it creates, that such is the power of thought, such is the power of imagination. A thought that can conceive but hardly knows. We grapple with understanding the mystery of divine, arises slowly in her and creates. So, through this eons of laboring pain of earth, through mindless tendencies and patterns, her striving to rise, she has given birth to this thought. It is an evolution, from, if you look at stone and then you look at human being, earth has worked so hard, through eons. This thought arises slowly in her, slowly through the evolution, and creates. What does it create? It creates the idea, you know, how the power of thought and imagination, we also have this power of idea, which is higher than thought. Thought gives rise, and then also we have a power of idea, something which connects us to something more than us. The idea, the speech. Now another gift is speech. Yeah, the speech that labels more than it lights. Now this is again a beautiful line. How we in a want to tell that yes, I understand, all that we do is we put a label. For example, I have put a label on myself. Okay, this is my name. Now the moment I put a label, can I truly say that I understand myself? No, but we say that I know who I am. I am this name. Yeah, even when we talk about concepts, birth, death, love, I, you, house, all these little even concepts, when we talk about compassion, kindness, spirituality, life, death, these are just labels that the thought or the speech puts on things, and it begins to give us a deception that we understand. Yeah, so if I put on a label on myself, Monica, do I really understand what is there? But I would say that no, I know who I am, and this is me. Yeah, so it's again, I found that this was really a beautiful line. The speech that labels more than it lights, a trembling gladness that is less than bliss, invades from all this beauty that must die. Even looking at beautiful sunsets, every day, sunrises, touch of nature, all that really makes us almost, I can say, tremble, because it's such a feeling of gladness, so much of beauty, a trembling gladness that is still less than bliss. So although it's beautiful, and as if the being is not even able to handle that much of beauty, and yet it is less than bliss. It invades from all this beauty that must die. So all that earth is able to have is this trembling gladness. It is able to catch that trembling gladness for itself. And yet this beauty is ephemeral. Even when we talk about the beauty of nature, of even beauty of clouds passing by, they pass by. The rain comes and then it's gone again. So it's ephemeral, a beauty that must wither away. A flower, a beautiful flower, and then after a few days it wilts. Goes away as the seasons change. So invades from all this beauty that must die. Yeah, so I think we can stop here, and I would invite you to share reflections on these last lines if you have any.
Once I had heard, like, a speaker say that the moment you say, I understand, you've lost it. Like, because, like, the thing that actually needs to be understood, if you say you've understood, you haven't understood. Like, I still don't 100% get it. But, like, something in this just, and the prior lines as well, for me, just pointed in that direction because, it's all unknown and how it's like mindless and stuff. It just like, yeah. And the thing that being is in her whom she hopes to know. Like, I think, like, I've also heard it from other people, and it's my own experience that when you're going through a really hard time, like, even if it's temporary, but it's like it's very deep, there's something in you, there's a voice in you which tells you that you're all right, like you're gonna be okay, like this too shall pass. So there is, you keep seeing different, I don't know, like different people living in you, some who are more, I don't know, evolved, or I don't know how to call it, but there is something that you feel that there's someone inside who helps you to keep at it, and it would be all right. And
Yeah.
really love this unconscious orbit, how we think we are free,
Hmm.
how we think that, oh, like I am my own man, like I everything. And then I think JK, one of the like he really makes us wonder that what really is yours, right? Everything is conditioned, and I mean yeah, that too, and otherwise how we fall into these orbits. This is my limitation. This is how I move, and this is the only, this is how much I can do. Yeah, struggling joy. That too was really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else who wants to share? Okay, so I think I'll just share something from the Upanishad, what Taru was touching upon. It says here, if you think I know it well, you know just a little the form of Brahman, that part of it which is you, and that part of it which is among the gods. Yeah, so then there are a few verses where it touches upon that. If you think that you know, you don't know it. I do not think I know it well, and I do not know, I don't know it. Whoever of us knows it, and does not know, I don't know it. It is thought of by the one whom it is unthought. So he says, it is thought of by the one to whom it is unthought. The one by whom it is thought of, he does not know. It is not understood by the understanders. It is understood by those who do not understand. So I just remembered these lines. I thought I'll share. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You should have read it slightly slower.
Okay. Actually, there was so much of noise here. I'll just read it again.
Very slowly,
Yeah.
because each word sinks in differently.
Yeah. True. Actually, I was just trying to evade that thok, but I was not able to. I'll go over it again. Yeah. It is thought of by the one to whom it is unthought. The one by whom it is thought of, he does not know. It is not understood by the understanders. It is understood by those who do not understand. I think that's it. Yeah. I can share it on the WhatsApp too. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone? Okay. So I think we can call it a day here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you for sharing and listening also. Thank you.